LoreWarrior Armour double feature. Typhoon Urban Assault Vehicle. Overview. After the armed forces of the Federated Commonwealth lost its Demolisher factory on Sudeten during the Clan invasion, AFFC leaders solicited bids for a new urban combat vehicle. Gelasta, the manufacturer of the Manticore, eventually won the contract with its wheeled Typhoon design. Production of the Typhoon began in early 3057 at Gelasta's factory on Panpur. Almost all Typhoons manufactured have been shipped to the Davian Guard units. Capabilities. The low-slung Typhoon is well suited for its role as an urban combat vehicle. The main weapon of the design's diverse arsenal is the Luxor Devastator 20 series autocannon, a powerful weapon capable of destroying many vehicles and even battlemechs with a single hit. The Typhoon also boasts a turret-mounted Harpoon 6 missile system and a pair of turret-mounted Holly Streak launchers. 2 additional Streak systems mounted on the front of the Typhoon complete its ballistic armament. A pair of turret-mounted Sutel precision line medium pulse lasers provide the Typhoon with devastating short-range firepower. A rear-firing small pulse laser completes the arsenal. Finally, a Beagle active probe enables a Typhoon crew to detect enemy units long before they detect the Typhoon, a considerable advantage in urban combat situations. Deployment. Typhoons have proved their effectiveness with numerous Davian and Lyran units. Perhaps the most convincing showing of the Typhoon occurred on Tigris, shortly after Archon Katrina Steiner issued her recall of all Lyran troops following the Marek-Lau invasion of the Sana March. Apparently, the Davian assault guards stationed on Tigris opposed the 15th Lyran Guard's plan to evacuate the world. When Lyran dropships landed at the Tigresian spaceport to aid in the evacuation, the Davian troops attempted to seize them, and a bitter clash ensued between the Davian and Lyran units. The Assault Guard's company of Typhoons proved especially effective in the confines of the spaceport, and though the Typhoon units took considerable losses, they destroyed nearly an entire company of Lyran troops. Variants. Several early prototypes of the Typhoon featured tracked locomotion systems, though these designs were never mass-produced. Several dozen of them remain in service with AFFC units. 3058 Upgrade. Overview. In the wake of the Clan invasion, the AFFC was desperately seeking to replenish the depleted ranks of its armoured regiments. Gelasta Aerospace, manufacturer of the ever-popular Manticore, submitted a wheeled design shortly thereafter. Though bureaucratic snafus and engineering problems led to significant delays, full-scale production on the Typhoon wouldn't begin until early 3057 at Gelasta's factory on Panpur. Capabilities. The low-slung Typhoon is well suited for its role as an urban combat vehicle. The main weapon is the powerful Luxor Devastator 20 series autocannon, more than capable of destroying vehicles and mechs with a well-placed shot. The Typhoon also boasts a turret-mounted Harpoon 6 missile system and a pair of turret-mounted Holly Streak launchers, complemented by 2 additional front-mounted Streak SRMs. A pair of turret-mounted Sutel precision line medium pulse lasers further provide the Typhoon with devastating short-range firepower. A rear-firing small pulse completes the Typhoon's arsenal. And finally, a Beagle probe enables the Typhoon crew to better detect enemy units within the confines of urban and close-terrain combat situations. Deployment. The Typhoon received its baptism of fire during Operation Guerrero and the pre-Civil War clashes that followed the Lyran secession from the Federated Commonwealth. Exclusive to the Davian Brigade of Guards at that time, Typhoons accounted well for themselves on the worlds of Tigris and Hesperus, and later during raids into the Jade Falcon occupation zone. Since that time, it's gone on to build a powerful reputation for itself, especially in the urban and other confined spaces in which it was designed to operate. Though produced exclusively in the Federated Suns, the Typhoon can be found in units throughout the AFFS and the LAAF, thanks to years of Archon Catherine Steiner Davian's rule of New Avalon. Once Panpur was claimed by Allied forces during the Fedcom Civil War, however, Typhoon production runs were shunted to Allied units that needed replacement, especially Duke Hassek's forces fighting within the Capella March. Variants. 2 major Typhoon variants have been accepted into service since the tank's debut more than a decade prior. The first was a factory refit rushed into production when it became clear that Panpur would become a hotly contested world early in the Fedcom Civil War. It trades the heavy autocannon, the SRM rack, and the small pulse laser for dual rotary AC-5s, while also swapping the 2 medium pulse lasers for ER medium lasers. Though often criticised for its mere 4 ton of autocannon ammunition, this version of the Typhoon nevertheless became extremely popular with crews and armour commanders alike for the raw firepower it can dish out. The second variant likewise focuses on paired weaponry, in this case 2 Imperator LB-10 autocannons. It replaces the 4 Streak launchers with 2 newer Streak 4 launchers, places an ER Small in place of the rear-mounted Small Pulse, and trades the Beagle Active Probe for a C3 Slave module. All this comes at the price of the medium pulses and the SRM-6 rack, though the autocannons and their generous ammunition load limit the complaints from crews that use this variant. Notable crews: Major Judga Ravager Aman. Major Aman was just a cadet in the 2nd Albion Cadre when the Fedcom Civil War broke out. Shipped off to Panpur with the rest of the cadre, he drove the Savage Amusement for the duration of the campaign until his tank commander was killed in the final push against the Loyalists that forced them off the world. Aman took over as tank commander and kept the Savage Amusement with him when he transferred into the 2nd Seti Hussars, where he and his tank saw heavy action on Taigita and finally New Avalon. Promoted rapidly to platoon and company command after heavy combat left the Hussars bereft of many officers, Aman took charge of a feint that drew off a significant number of Arcturan guards from their defence of New Avalon City, and now commanding a full battalion in the Pleiades cluster, he and his fellow Hussars thought they'd eliminated all Turian resistance, until new reinforcements arrived to keep the fight going. Specialist Sunshine Reagan. The Syrian Lancers' unprovoked assault on Skye in early 3068 forced military commanders to scramble for qualified personnel to fill the Civil War-weakened ranks of the LAAF. A mechanic's assistant in the 4th Skye Rangers, Specialist Reagan found herself dragooned into crewing a Ranger Typhoon. Though a poor driver and an even worse gunner, she's more than made up for her shortcomings by keeping her platoon's tanks operational through damage that, by all accounts, should have destroyed them several times over by now. The Typhoon, urban assault vehicle. It's a 70-tonner wheeled vehicle. Power plant is the Breen 190 Fusion. Its cruise of 32 kph and flank speed of 54 kph is armoured by the Arc Shield Maxi 4 Ferrofibrous. Its armament is a single Luxor Devastator 20 autocannon, 4 Holly Streak SRM racks, a single Harpoon SRM 6 rack, 2 Sutel Precision Line medium pulse lasers, and 1 Sutel Precision Line small pulse laser. Manufacturer's Gelasta Aerospace with its primary factory on Panpur. Its communication system is the Omicron 1500, and its targeting and tracking system is the Gelasta Targetrack 717 with Beagle Active Probe. All of this translates into a wheeled vehicle with a cruise of 3 and a flank of 5. It has 10 heat sinks and has an armour complement of 43 armour on the front, 40 on the sides, 42 on the rear, and 32 on the turret. The AC-20 is located in the turret with 15 shots of ammo in the body, 2 Streak SRM-2s in the turret with the 50 shots located in the body, and 2 medium pulse lasers also in the turret, and an SRM-6 in the turret with its ammo in the body. The Beagle Active Probe located in the front of the vehicle with a small pulse laser in the rear, and another 2 Streak SRM-2s located in the front, with the ammo presumably in the body. Basically, the crew were sat on a massive stack of ammunition ready to go off at any point. Other than that, though, I actually don't mind the vehicle. It has a very anime-inspired look, although the wheels do remind me a little bit of the dropship APC from Aliens there, the front wheels specifically. It's a big bugger as well, and certainly nothing to sniff at, despite the fact that the SRM-2 launchers on the side of it are fucking huge. Have you seen the size of the launchers on the side? That thing is crazy big. But yeah, the Typhoon, it's not a bad vehicle, yeah. I don't mind it. It's a bit slow, obviously, for its speed, 70 tons, but that more than makes up for it with the fact that it's not really meant to be rolling around in an open glade looking for targets, so it's just like, it's like over, like, little shallow hills and stuff, just expecting targets to come running at it, like it's MechWarrior 5. No, this is a vehicle that hides and waits for its targets, and then it just pops out and annihilates them at a moment's notice. It's fun though. I like the build on this. This would be a horrible thing to drop on players, or at least warning them ahead of time. Like, be careful. That's all I'm going to say. Just be careful where you're moving around, because yeah, an AC-20 equipped wheeled vehicle in a closed location like a city, yeah, that's horrible. That's nasty. Is it a sniff on the old Devastator tank? Of course not. Sorry, the Demolisher tank, as it mentions in the first write-up. The original write-up mentions the Demolisher factory being taken. The later write-up doesn't mention the Demolisher at all. So I don't know whether that's an issue with the fact that maybe later on down the line they went, oh wait a minute, no, the Demolisher wasn't factory wasn't shut, or they didn't lose it or whatever. But yeah, because the other one doesn't mention it at all. But this against the Demolisher, the Demolisher is always going to win. It's only going to take a brief exchange of fire. But then again, this is a lighter vehicle, so yeah, it has its own niche. It works well. And yeah, personally, I do quite like the vehicle. I'm not sure. It says the SRM-6 is located in the turret, but the art doesn't give a particularly strong positioning for that. But we could say that those launchers on the side might be omni-use, so they might open up and fire, a cluster of 6 missiles, like 3 on each side launcher, or one of them can fire the SRM-6, and who knows? Or maybe it's like a pop-out launcher or something like that. A panel opens up and the missiles fire out. Who knows? It's whatever you need it to be. But yeah, it's obviously quite big as well. You can see that cockpit glass at the front there for the driver, who obviously must have quite a low field of view, but it's big enough that, yeah, the turret itself is massive on the vehicle. So it'd be interesting to see if they ever did any art for the tracked version of this, because I imagine that's quite a change up. And it would have been nice if they'd statted that as well, maybe given it a slightly different quirk. Maybe it's a little slower because it's tracked instead. That would have been cool. That would have been a nice touch. But yeah, maybe in the future, who knows? But that's the Typhoon Urban Assault Vehicle. I don't dislike it, and well, I'm sure everyone's got their own opinions on this one. I think some of you out there are going to like it. Some of you out there are going to dislike it. Probably finding a better vehicle that's more efficient, or something that you've used in the past. I would assume, no doubt, has supplanted this. But yeah, I don't mind it. It's all right. Scary vehicle to wheel out on players who aren't expecting something quite as deadly as this. But yeah, as always, thanks for listening, and I'll catch you next time. Bye bye.